that week, arms traders continued their disgusting, dirty business at the Excel Centre despite the terrible events. To our benefit, we stayed out there too. We campaigned, we carried on campaigning, and a police officer may have said to me at the time, "I can't believe you're here. I think you're sick for turning up after what has happened." Well, what was sick was those people inside continuing to do deals that created this thing in the first place. So here we are 2 years on. Between now and the last arms fair, arms sales have shot through the roof, with George Bush and Tony Blair using arms sales as a lever to bring people on board with their so-called war against terrorism. It is time for this cycle of violence to stop. 15 years ago, Saddam Hussein's henchmen were in the UK, in Aldershot, shopping for arms. Just in the past months, we have executed an illegal and immoral war against them to disarm Iraq of its weapons that we sold them in the first place. It is time for this cycle of violence to stop. Let us stop the Saddam Husseins of the future. Let us stop the human rights abusers shopping for arms this week. The human rights abusers like Chile, the human rights abusers like Saudi Arabia, and the world's worst human rights abuser from buying arms, the United States of America. I'll get off now. You can buy my books in all good bookshops. I'm from Campaigning Against Arms Trade. Well done everybody for turning out today. It's beautiful, the weather, you are all beautiful for being here. But let's get out there, outside the arms fair next week. Starting on Tuesday morning and throughout the week, we will blockade. We will stop this fair from taking place. Well done everybody.
I guess they're also like going to who's going to be down that way.
Thanks for that, Gideon. We now have a very quick, more sort of announcements about what's happening, and there's no name, no petrol on this one.
Hiya. I just want to quickly say that this is just the beginning of, as Gid said, a week of action. Starting tonight, the Convergence Centre is opening at 7 o'clock. We've got Mark Thomas, the band Shallow Man there, and it's a really good place for people to come and collect information about what's happening for the rest of the week. And protest proper kick off on Tuesday and carry on through the rest of the week. There's, as Gid said, blockades, there's a day of non-violent direct action, there's a day of direct action, and all sorts of other events. So come along and get involved, and together we can all shut down this thing. Thank you.
Now my phone's going as we speak. Do you all want to hear the call?
Yes, please.
Oh, it's the police. Right, our next speaker is Jean Lambert, MEP, the Green MEP. I'm sure she's spoken to you before. She's spoken to me loads of times. We actually struggle to stop her speaking, but she's absolutely fantastic. Big welcome for Jean Lambert.
Right, thank you for that. Well, obviously, the very fact that we're here today is a very clear message that we intend also to be out there in the protests to close not just this arms fair, but also to work to make sure that we see no more of them. That this is a privatised initiative, the government will tell you, which they've subsidised heavily, as so often happens when they bring in the private sector. We're told that only 2% of the workforce in the UK work in the arms trade, but it's really important that we protect those jobs. It's really important that we invest and that we're in there with the rest of the world. I asked the government advisor a little while ago what he thought about poverty wages paid to agricultural labourers in the UK. Oh, he said, well, they're only 2% of the workforce, as if we don't have to bother about that 2%. So obviously the percentages really count in terms of the destruction that you can deliver globally. Both arms and agriculture are heavily subsidised. Over the next few days of WTO talks in Cancun, we're going to see our government, along with others, trying to get rid of the subsidies, which are bringing devastation in terms of for the poor in the world, for the planet. We're going to see them promoting subsidies at this immoral event happening in one of London's poorest boroughs. So the arms trade, different rules obviously apply. The guest list has been mentioned. Kazakhstan is on the guest list. Their opposition leader is in jail at the moment. Pakistan is on the guest list. Saudi Arabia, Israel, Colombia, a whole set of other countries in the world where we already have conflict, and we see our government investing in that conflict because they want to reap the profits of the death and the destruction which are going to be brought to bear there. We're probably going to find that this arms fair, cluster bombs creep in on certain of the displays. Landmines will probably be there as well, which again we're supposed to have outlawed, which we recognise as the long-term effects of that as being an evil in this world. So we have a government, just like the government before it, which has an ingrained addiction to war, an ingrained addiction to destruction. Part of what we're saying in our opposition to this arms fair is that we want a different world. A world where we invest in peace, a world where we eradicate poverty, and a world which we want to leave as fit for our children in the future. So it's important that we're out there this week, and it's important that we're challenging this ingrained addiction in the weeks to come, and for example on September the 27th in the anti-Iraq war demonstration there. We'll see you in the coming week in Docklands and on the 27th. Thank you.
We now like to call a representative from the local community down in Docklands, a good friend of ours, Len Aldis from Tower Hamlets CND.
Friends, can I add my congratulations and thanks to CAT and all the many organisations that have been involved in the run-up to this obscene arms fair taking place next week. It's the third fair that Tower Hamlets CND has been involved in, and we sincerely hope it's going to be the last. While we are here today, the National CND Conference has started. It will have on its agenda a resolutions from Tower Hamlets calling for the end of arms fairs, not only in this country, but in other countries throughout the world. We have also placed an emergency resolution calling for no more British troops to Iraq. If Jack Straw or Tony Blair are keen, let them go. And they will see what war is really like. They are too young to have gone through the Second World War in this country and the bombing that the East End went through in 1939 to 1944. So if they want to go, go. But make it a one-way ticket, please. Friends, this is a non-violent campaign. And can I remind the 3,000 police that will be outside Excel over the 4 days, that will cost us over £1 million. They're there to prevent the violence outside. Well, let me remind them The violence is inside with the sounds of weapons of mass destruction. And if they want to earn their money and their overtime, get the arms merchants out of Excel and out of this country. Let me try to give you 2 facts which I received just a few days from UNICEF. And to me this brings over the obscenity of these arms fairs, particularly the money that is being spent on the manufacturing, the buying and the selling. Friends, every 10 minutes a child in the developing world dies through diarrhea. Every 10 minutes. Every hour 200 children are dying for the lack of clean water. Now, Arms Fair at Excel will go on for 4 days. You can work out that figure for yourself. I reckon it's 19,200 children will die while that obscene exhibition is taking place, when we can spend the money and the skills to prevent those 19,000 deaths. Thank you very much.
Not bad for an old boy, is he?
Quite a few people talk about how much money is being wasted on these arms. We reckon 10% of your taxes, take a law, £760 million is what the stock price of the arms. We reckon that there are much better ways to spend that money. September the 11th 2 years ago showed that no amount of military spending and military technology ensures safety and security. The military model clearly doesn't work. We need a new approach. Like Dean said, we need to invest in peace, not war. Like the government says, those who finance terror are as guilty as those who pay for it, as those who actually do it. Well, we're financing this arms trade, and we're financing war. Remember, 10% of your taxes pay for war. So, I urge you to get to the demonstrations next week, make your protest heard, and don't pay your taxes for war.
Thank you, Oliver.
We have a quick little run-in.
I was wearing it, and then I gave it back to Barney.